do you feel when you see creators that go out there and they're like, I made $1 million in an hour, or I'm making $350K a month, and they're like really braggadocious about these numbers and they're not giving any context to it?
I had somebody the other day create an OnlyFans account and say, they were like, well, where's the money at? I said, well, where's your fan base at?
Did you know that there are 500 creators or less that are making 6 figures a month?
I don't know anyone without a fan base that's making that. It's actually impossible.
I didn't want to be beholden to a clock or a boss, and that felt suffocating.
We're spending little to nothing to take a selfie, but the revenue we make from it is so high that why would I ever end a business model that is this perfect? No, I'm going straight into the MILF category.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. I've wanted to have creators on for a long time, but when I first started this, I felt like I wasn't allowed to in a weird way because I was trying to prove something, prove that I'm able to do other things and take my clothes off. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I think once you make a decision to make any content that's sensual or sexual, even if it's not explicit, that you don't have anything else to offer anymore.
Nobody can take you seriously doing anything else.
Which is so crazy because we're all of these different parts, and that's a part of most people, if we're being honest about it. Mm-hmm. But if it's something about showcasing it or monetizing it, that makes it such a no-no. So I feel like I'm in this place now where I can actually just lean into the whole spectrum of who I am and who I want to talk to.
Have you ever had any other creators on?
In the very, very beginning, and that was Comfort Zone, and the episodes did really well, but then I felt like I was getting a lot of pushback, not taken seriously. And if I wanted to have someone that was a neuroscientist on, it kind of made that more difficult.
What's funny is anytime I post anything sexual or sensual, the comments, they love it. Everyone's such a fan. We love this. But as soon as I talk and have an opinion about anything, immediately you're wrong. I'm trying to prove you wrong. So many hate comments. So people hate when somebody that is used to posting aesthetics and sexual content have a voice about anything.
Why is that?
They can't take us seriously or people in this space seriously. For what reason?
I don't know, because it's athletes, I feel like, are the same way, and a lot of even mainstream actors, if they get political or shares an opinion on something, it's immediately shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
And someone in one of my comments even recently was like, what would the equivalent be of shut up and dribble to her?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've been doing the podcast for a really long time. And also I think when it comes to that kind of content, it's such a small part of who you are. So you think that's all I do all day? That's the only thing I do all day? That makes absolutely no sense.
I think people that are super opinionated about that, it's a problem they have within themselves that they can't accept it. So I try not to dig too deep into why can't this person take me seriously? Because I know it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with them. So why waste my energy and my bandwidth trying to figure them out? It's their problem to solve within themselves.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. Do you feel like when you meet people, are you upfront with what you do, or do you kind of dance around it?
I have no shame. I feel so proud of how much success that I have created alone on my own. I just walk around with a sense of pride, to be honest with you. And I think the more pride you carry with what you do, the less judgmental people are towards you, versus if you walked around kind of shy and, oh, well, I do this on the side. If you have that demeanor about you, people are more likely to say, oh, she's uncomfortable with it. Then why are you doing it?
So then I should be uncomfortable because she's uncomfortable.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I walk around just so happy, proud, confident, and people respect me and take me seriously. And I think because it is a business and I do take it serious, I love it.
Mm-hmm. I always think it's funny when people challenge that and they say it's not a business or you're...
I love that challenge.
If you knew the actual numbers and how hard it is to be successful and how hard it is to have a brand that's sustainable, then you would take it a lot more seriously. Yeah. And this kind of piggybacks onto one of the questions I wanted to ask. How do you feel when you see creators that go out there and they're like, I made $1 million in an hour, or I'm making $350K a month, and they're like really braggadocious about these numbers, and they're not giving any context to it. They're like, this is just what's on OnlyFans.
I feel like my success has come from staying in my lane and not paying attention to what anyone else does. I think if you pay attention to what other people do and say, you're not being authentic to yourself and your brand. So when somebody speaks like that, they could be telling the truth, because I know what people are capable of and I've seen other people's numbers. So I don't necessarily think that they're lying. I just know what I'm capable of. So I try not to put myself in a position of, oh, why am I not achieving that also? But I also think it gives some people a lot of false hope. I had somebody the other day create an OnlyFans account and say, what do I do now? And I said, well, they were like, well, where's the money at? I said, well, where's your fan base at? What do you can't just like create an account. So a lot of work goes into it.
Yeah, I get so frustrated because I think that the image that they're sending forward is that it's just waiting for you. You literally like create an account and then buckets of money pour into it. And it's not that.
Yeah.
And I was doing the numbers recently. Did you know that there are 500 creators or less that are making 6 figures a month?
And those are
globally.
And those are celebrity status people with tens of millions of followers.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone without a fan base that's making that. It's actually impossible. So the goal should be to connect to fans, build an audience, and then share that side of you on the internet to make a living.
Yeah. So I just wish more people were like, this is extremely rare. Like, again, I don't think a lot of them are lying, but it's like, this is a unicorn.
Yeah.
And that's great for them.
But I feel like if I said, oh, what I do is rare, not everybody can do it, that's just as bragging.
Yeah.
That's just as braggadocious.
But then you're not having someone sign up thinking that like it's immediate success overnight.
Yeah. It's not success overnight at all. It took me years, and it took anybody I know years. Or there are some people that just have that spark and they post once and they go crazy viral. Kind of like the, who was the girl on Dr. Phil? Bad.
Oh my, yeah. Bobby or Barb. I don't know. Bad
Listen
Barbie.
to us. Bad baby?
Baby. Something.
Yeah.
Catch Me Outside. That girl.
Catch Me Outside. I mean, you could be an overnight success, but you have to just have a ton of crazy views to do that. So.
Do you, in your journey of creating content and obviously really leaning into your sensuality, do you have tips for women who feel disconnected from that part of themselves? Like how to be able to have that confidence and like that kind of goddess, I own this, this space energy?
Well, the first step is taking care of yourself. Like if I haven't been in the gym and I've been eating whatever I want, the last thing I want to do is get on camera. So you have to be confident with yourself. And if I know I've done the best I can do for that day or that week and I'm feeling good, that's step one. Step two is to create something you're really interested in. So my favorite thing to do was like buy a new outfit, buy a new lingerie set that I'm really excited about. And also in like a really stunning, gorgeous, beautiful location. So you just have to like love what you're shooting. I feel like just jumping in front of a camera isn't very inspiring, you know? So that's how I am confident in front of the camera. I'm excited about what I'm shooting.
How do you take that into your personal life?
Being confident?
Like, yeah. So if you're dating, so like if you're going out on a date and someone, and you're maybe a girl that hasn't done it in a long time, or you feel like, I don't know, just like disconnected from that part of you, like how do you bring like that confidence and like sensuality to like relationship or to dating or even to yourself?
You have to, okay, so confidence can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And for me, dating, sensuality is not what makes me feel confident. For me, what makes me feel really confident is my sense of humor and connecting on a conversation level. So I feel like I would have a really good date and feel really confident if I could connect with them. And it has nothing to do with being sexual or sensual. So I think confidence means different thing to different people.
Have you actually been on a pedicab date since you posted that?
I fell in love in the back of a pedicab. I love pedicabs. Yeah, I think dating is just, it should be fun, friendship based first. So if you're just having fun and connecting with someone on a friendship level and you're not trying to impress each other, it just it's so free and light and you just have a good time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you can lack confidence when you're trying to impress someone. You're stressing out to take them to a nice restaurant. We have to do this. It just easy breezy for me builds confidence,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, it's a much more relaxed way to like
Yeah.
see someone for
Yeah.
who they are versus this facade that you're trying to do. But when I saw
Yeah.
your pedicab thing, I was like, she's gonna have a line of pedicabs waiting for her when she's done recording that.
Well, it's Austin, Texas, and there's all pedicabs here.
All pedicabs.
And they're expensive. I'm not kidding. I took a pedicab half a mile. I guess when you're pedaling, it takes a while. And the guy's like drenched in sweat. It's tough. It was $100.
Yeah. Easy. I did one in Manhattan. It was around Christmas time and the same thing. I felt like a few blocks. It was just too much that I didn't want to walk in heels.
Exactly.
So I was like, I'll do the pedicab. And then he's like, that'll be, I think it was like $150. I was like, this would
I
be
should
a
have just called a
$15
cab.
cab.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But you had fun though, right?
I did have fun.
Yeah, it's memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other favorite pedicab moment was in Amsterdam, and I was just baked because we went to one of, they call them cheese shops.
Right.
So you go to the cheese shop and we smoked, and then there's a pedicab. So of course you're going to take the pedicab.
Yeah.
And it was the best time.
How can you not?
It was the best time.
My best pedicab experience was Halloween night. We went out and I was dressed up as an elderly woman. I had a gray wig. I had my Goodwill church outfit on and I had my glasses and I had my pocketbook and I was in a pedicab. I whipped some cash out of my pocketbook. It was so fun.
I loved that. I was like, I want to steal this idea for
That
a
is
party.
the most fun Halloween I have ever had in my life. Or if you're doing a bachelorette or a birthday party, dress up in a group of elderly women or men. We won $5,000 that night for the costume contest because we were like breaking it down as elderlies. It was so fun.
It was at a club, right? Like
Yeah.
I was like,
Just go to Goodwill, get like a walker. I like bought a walker off of Facebook Marketplace. We had canes. We won. It was so funny.
It was so good. Yeah, I love that you showcase that in the content that you make. Like you're not afraid to just be silly and be funny.
Yeah.
Like you don't put a lot of like pressure to just be like this perfect little.
Yeah. The content that I spend the most money on and is the most aesthetic and time consuming and the most creative actually gets the least engagement because you're not connecting with fans doing that. So I try to shy away from doing too much of that, even though it's so fun to create. And you just get so much more engagement just being yourself. And some people probably think it's lazy because I didn't spend any money on the content, on the wardrobe, on the location. You shoot a funny moment in 2 seconds and it kind of feels sloppy almost, but it does so well because fans can see you.
And that's the only thing
The
that
real
separates you from everyone else. Do you think, so when people say that this kind of work can't be empowering or that it's a trauma response or that you're making the world a worse place, like what do you say to that?
It's all situational because I do know women that do this that are they have the best head on their shoulders. They're very business oriented. They have a strong work ethic. But I also know people that do this because of the way they were brought up, trauma responses. So it depends on the person. There is no one size fits all. I personally got into this because it made me happy doing it. And the money that you can make doing it if you put the time and effort in versus, I had a 9-to-5 when I started doing this and I did this on the side and I made more money doing this on the side than I did at my 9-to-5 that I went to college for. So tell me why.
What were you doing before?
I was a content curator for a website.
Oh,
So I was deep in those Reddit threads.
there you go. That probably helped a ton. And then you had a fan base or
No.
you just were like an overnight.
I started with 10,000 Instagram followers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I made $3,000 my very first month.
Wow.
Which is insane for only having 10,000 followers.
Followers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very unique.
So, but I had a really normal upbringing, normal family, went to church. I just saw this as a business. I think some people do start this because other reasons. So it just depends on the person.
And do you find that like the people closest to you are okay with everything? Like has it caused
I've never
any
had
rifts?
anybody not be okay with it because
That's
again, I
awesome.
walk around so confident about it and they see the freedom it's given me for my time and the freedom it's given me to help other people. Like I help friends, family. I'm generous, so.
Yeah, I think so too. I think for me, I was going to school when I kind of started getting into the space, and I didn't want to be beholden to a clock or a boss, and that felt suffocating. And then I also had some like health stuff come up, and it caused me to miss a
Same.
lot of work.
Yeah.
And that continued into like a really bad spiral. So that's actually when I started webcamming, because I'm like, I can do this from home regardless of what my health is.
Did it not help your mental health?
It helped me.
To be able to be productive, to make an income in the comfort of your own home without being stressed out by having to be at a 9-to-5 when you're having health problems.
Right. And then you're like, am I going to pay my bills this month?
Yeah.
Like and then that stress makes you sicker.
Yeah.
And it's this endless cycle. And then it is, when people are like, there's no way it's empowering. Like that's dependent on the person, kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah.
It's so situational.
Empowering can mean many different things to many different people. And for me, independence is the most empowering thing.
Yeah.
I'm my own boss. I create my own schedule. I have days where I struggle with my physical health. I wouldn't be able to have a 9-to-5, So very empowering.
Do you think that makes it harder to find love? So there's this narrative that like all these young people that have these OnlyFans accounts, because I mean, especially after COVID, I think it went from 1 million creators to 5 million creators.
Yeah.
So it skyrocketed. And then there's this narrative that they're untouchables now and they're unworthy of love and they're never going to find anyone. Is that something that ever concerns you, or are you believing that like the right person will come along?
I think it depends on the person, because there's so many women in this space that are in relationships. A lot of creators that I meet, they're like already married, and their partner fully supports them. And I also feel like if you're dating and somebody doesn't think you're worthy of love because of what you do, then you shouldn't be dating that person to begin with. It almost like weeds out all the people that you shouldn't be around anyways.
Absolutely.
I don't ever want to be with somebody that's not going to support me, because I am a very supportive partner. If my partner wants to go do anything, I would support it 100%. So I would expect that in return. So I think it just weeds people out if they lack respect for what you do.
I couldn't agree
I wouldn't
more.
want to date anyone like that.
No, or have those friends or even family members in my case that have...
Even outside of dating, just friendships and any sort of relationship, if you're going to judge someone that aggressively, then you're not for me at all in any part of my life, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that it's like, do you have plans to keep doing it? Is there like a cutoff date?
No.
Here's this thing, there is a creator, I think he's a former porn star, but now he's like a men's coach. I think his name's Sterling Cooper. And there was this clip going around, and I'm sure part of it is clickbaity, but that women expire after 25.
No,
and
we just go into the MILF category.
Like, whoa, that's really harsh.
We go into the MILF category or the cougar category. I remember before I started this actually in college, I was really interested in finance and business, and I did a lot of studying in that area. And one of the main things that they teach you is passive income. It's one of the most powerful things you can have, especially in real estate. That's how I do a little bit of real estate. It's passive income. This is the ultimate passive income because of your ROI, your return on investment, right? Like we're spending little to nothing to take a selfie, but the revenue we make from it is so high that it's kind of any business owner's dream to have this sort of business model. So why would I ever end a business model that is this perfect with this high ROI, right? So no, I'm going straight into the MILF category.
And then after MILF, is there the GILF category?
Yes. I'm going into the GILF. And I already, of course, me and my research, there's an audience for it. I already see women doing it, and they do very well. And as long as you're comfortable and happy,
Yeah, get it, girl.
I have like creators saved that are in the grandma category that I research and study what they're doing. And so I don't see any reason to not continue on.
I love that you research everything and you've got all this data.
I don't like wasting time.
You're like, this is what performs.
And a lot of people, I do it because I don't consider myself an artist. I consider myself like more business minded. And so when I shoot, it's what's going to perform best, what's going to do best. How can I spin it to where it feels like me and it's something I'm comfortable doing, but it's going to work? Versus a lot of other creators, they just do strictly what they want to do without any data behind it, with no clear vision, and their stuff doesn't perform well. And then they end up having to quit, go get a real job, or, it doesn't work out for them. So you kind of have to be into the numbers to be successful, no?
I'm the opposite. So I feel like I'm like this kind of whimsy creator, and I'm like, this is the vision that I have for the thing. And I've done zero research if it's going to perform or not. And what was so frustrating the other day is I posted something that was just a series of selfies, just like lazy waiting selfies.
Yeah.
And then I posted this beautiful dreamy set that I really loved. And the selfie had like 10x the engagement from like the really beautiful.
I rest my case.
You're 100% right.
I rest my case. So I would love to shoot those beautiful, whimsy, stunning, but is it going to do well? It can if you figure out why it will do well. So you just add that component into your shoot.
Maybe I'll have to ask for some like research, data-driven points.
When I shoot my little beautiful, stunning little cottagey,
I love it.
Okay, I love it too, but there has to be a component in it, a little subtle aspect that you add into it that is going to make it go viral and get engagement. So you can research what those little components are. So I never blindly shoot.
And I feel like I feel really unprepared now. Yeah, so unprepared. So would you say, do you consider like sexual expression, sensual expression, is that a form of artwork, or is there overlap where some is and some isn't? You don't think any is? You don't think so?
Show me somebody that's making a sex tape based off a mood board that they made.
I know people.
Okay, well, then that's art.
Yeah, 100%. I know people that do mood boards. I don't know anyone that
has ever done that. If you are doing that, then it's art.
Yeah.
If you're creating a mood board and you're really setting a vision, it's art, right?
Yeah.
I personally don't know anyone that does that. And I think a lot of people can just say it's art because it's easy to say anything is art when it really isn't. What I do is not art.
I think it is.
I don't think it is.
Yes, I absolutely think it is.
Well, I'm very into interior design. It's really boring for the internet, so I don't really talk about it a lot. But to me, that's art. Like I am putting my blood, sweat, and tears and my soul into designing a space. It's design, right? So when I go to like shoot selfies, it's just such like a watered down, like thoughtless, almost easy. I guess because it's easy for me, so it doesn't feel like art. Versus like interior design is very challenging, and I really have to get my creative juices flowing. Versus when I shoot it, I don't think my creative juices are flowing because it's so easy.
That's so interesting because the outside looking in, the way that you style everything, it's indisputable that it's art. I'm like, that's really good. It looks beautiful.
I guess maybe I'm just really hard on myself.
Yeah,
that's like my toxic trait. I'm like, I like bully the shit out of myself.
I do too. I try to be nicer.
I'm so mean to me.
Do you do anything to help with that, or you just you're like,
I think
it works?
That's what makes me good. I have to keep bullying myself in order to perform and produce. Because as soon as I'm like, it's all right. Like if I wasn't as hard on myself, I feel like I wouldn't work as hard and I wouldn't produce content as good.
Yeah, I tell myself the same thing. I'm like, I know there's a gentler way to do this, though.
No, I have to beat myself up.
It's working.
It does. It does work.
Yeah.
I feel like our jobs are so easy. Like that's how I make it. My job is easy. A lot of people think it's hard, and it is hard for some people, but it's easy for me. So I think that's a way of me making it harder. Bully myself.
Yeah. See, I do vision boards, so I try to put intention into stuff. And then some of the sets I've done are I've gone to like bigger scenes, and they have like a whole thing that they want. And then Riley actually, like that's what she does with all of her stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's art.
Yeah, it depends, but that's not the same as like certain sites or certain, because I see other things. I was like, oh no, that's
what I'm
not.
saying. So I can find a location, find a set, base my entire wardrobe off of the set and the props. You can't shoot without props. So you have all these components, right? And I can produce a piece of content and that's art versus somebody else can just walk into a room and take a picture and say that's art. And they didn't put the work and vision behind it. So it's just
sometimes I feel like that's what's at the Met though, if we're being honest. Like if you go, like there's something that someone literally just like walked out and like they painted a square on the wall and they're like, that is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're like, we all know that that's not. I don't know why we're pretending that it is.
I watched a YouTube video of a lady just took a mop, blah, on a canvas and sold it for who knows how much.
And then they'll justify it.
It's art.
It's like they'll say, oh, the measurements and the mathematics and then the tone. And
art is so ambiguous. So it's just kind of, it just depends.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think the main thing is it makes you feel something, right? And even if that's just outrage, which there's plenty of that. So by that definition, I am an artist. What I always think is really interesting too is all of the people that are so quick to kind of chastise the creators and say like, what you're doing is bad. This is not good. You know, clean up your ways. And no one seems to watch porn. Like if you ask anyone, like no one watches porn. No one watches anything that's risque. But I was like, I'm going to ask ChatGPT how many visitors Pornhub has a day. A day. And it's 115 million a day. That is one website. So who are all these people that are not watching porn?
I think people feel it's very important to walk around life being politically correct to avoid any sort of confrontation and to be on like the right side of an argument, even though they consume things themselves, right? Like it's bad to drink a lot, but we've all had a drink.
Yeah.
So like people just care to always make a good impression on other people and to always have like the best and most correct opinion, even if they consume. We all consume it.
Do you watch anything?
Wait,
or do you do
fast food's bad? Is fast food good? No, you're not going to argue that. But have you ever had fast food?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So it's like we all consume things that we know isn't necessarily the best. But I think things aren't the best if you overconsume it, right? Like one fast food meal, one drink, one cigarette, one porn video, not going to kill you. If you're repeatedly consuming it to like in an addictive way, then that's bad, obviously. But yeah, those people that just complain and make us feel bad or anyone that consumes porn, that's bad. They've consumed porn at some point in their life. So it's just hypocritical.
Do you do anything to combat overconsumption? Like with your fans or anything? Or do you not really have that issue? Like, do you have anyone that maybe is like on all of the time and is asking for stuff all of the time?
Yeah.
And then how do you handle that?
That's tough because I've never turned anyone down and not sold them content or not communicated with them for supporting my work. But the people that are really consuming my content to that degree, they want the companionship, which I don't have a problem giving because I know what it's like to be really lonely. And I also know what it's like to have mental health issues. So dealing with my anxiety and depression, which transformed into agoraphobia, it's a really lonely, dark place. So if somebody needs that companionship, I'm always going to give it to them. So I've never really like turned anybody down. I've more so been there to help them. You know,
that's a really beautiful way to look at it, though. So, like, if that's the way that you're approaching it, I think you can do the same thing from multiple places, like different intentions or frequencies, if you will. So, if you're going to it and you're like, I'm going to help this person with companionship, and I'm actually helping their mental health.
You wouldn't believe people's wives have died. People have never been in a relationship in their life. I have people that have just never been in a relationship and they want to ask me how to approach a girl properly. And so that's just me like being there for them. I have turned people down for content if they're aggressive and rude and mean. I'll block you, you know? So those are the types of people that I don't engage with. The aggressive ones, which are plenty out there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like, who hurt you?
Somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that energy needs to get channeled somewhere. Yeah, I've worked with other girls where the way that they kind of saw it, one girl literally was like, I just want you to milk people dry. And I was like, whoa,
There are people out there like that.
That's a really aggressive way. And I don't know. I feel like a sense of responsibility for it. So I would never approach anything that way.
Right.
And I think even it's going to like come back and bite you in the butt. Even
Right.
if you want to just look at it from a selfish standpoint, I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people think there isn't any thought into it. It's just like we're mindless consumers and we're just trying to like take.
There's always a person on the other end. And I remember the first time it hit me, I was going back and forth with a guy and he requested some content and I sold him whatever he wanted. And he in return said, thank you so much. His wife had just passed away. And he like thanked me for like helping him like have someone. And I never thought of it that way, that I'm like actually helping someone go through something. And knowing that it's a human on the other end versus like a robot, you know?
Yeah, I was on this podcast recently and the guy was like, do you think that you've helped more marriages or hurt more marriages? And I was like, I don't have any data to give you an honest answer. But what I do know is that for like the decade plus that I've been doing this, I 1000% have worked with men, with husbands and wives, a lot of guys that get deployed and they're like, well, I don't know how to stay connected, and giving like them exercises to do together and content to watch together and making them something like for them to enjoy and like sending them a fleshlight while they're deployed. Like I for sure helped some people. And
But
I'm
I
sure,
like how people think that it's your responsibility to help someone else's marriage, or like if someone's marriage falls apart because they're on OnlyFans, like you're responsible. It's you don't have the commitment to the other person. So I hate when people ask stuff like that. They're just trying to stir up, making you feel bad about yourself for being in this line of work. And that's just somebody that I don't converse with.
yeah, and just passing the responsibility off to where it doesn't belong.
Right. So like if somebody's relationship fails, it's easier to point the finger at, oh, well, they were on OnlyFans consuming someone else's content versus, oh, was maybe I not a good enough partner that led them to cross my boundary that I clearly set and didn't want them to be on OnlyFans. Have you even set that boundary in a relationship? You know?
Do you think that's a reasonable one?
Yeah, I think every relationship can have healthy boundaries. And if I was in a relationship and I didn't want my partner consuming other people's content, if I vocalize that and he crossed that boundary, then of course, you know, but you just have to vocalize it up front. I would never set that boundary because I'm in this line of work and I think it's healthy and normal. But I think if it was against someone's morals, then you have to respect that if you're with them.
And just get it out up front.
Up front, yeah. You can't get into a relationship wanting to change someone.
So do you think, I feel like men think women like you don't exist. Like you're kind of like Bigfoot. So you're like, I wouldn't set that boundary because I think it's healthy and normal. And like, I would respect honesty because to me, all these things are okay. Totally agree. 100% in alignment. But they're like, no one is like that. And I'm like, I've met so many women that are like that. So if you try just being honest up front, you'll be surprised.
You have to communicate up front.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know very many women that are
okay with it.
Yeah. I think because even before OnlyFans, I did actual modeling for agencies, and it was a lot of being in front of the camera and lingerie and bikinis. And so I've kind of always been in this line of work. So I don't know anything different. But I think women that are, if they work in insurance or if they work in healthcare, like, and they're just not familiar with this work at all, it can be very intimidating, and they wouldn't want their man consuming any of it because it just feels so crazy to them.
Because they think it's like a competition immediately. The one thing I see a lot is if someone's watching someone or is liking someone on Instagram and it looks totally different than their partner, then they automatically take it personally. Like, well, they're not attracted to me. And I'm like, it's the furthest thing from the truth. It's the opposite, actually. Like, men see a buffet of things that they find beautiful and it doesn't make anything less desirable.
I think for any relationship to work, each partner has to just be fully confident within themselves. Because if I had a partner liking another girl's picture on Instagram, I don't care. I could care less. Like away, comment away. What do I care? I'm sorry.
Right.
But I feel like most women would care a lot. I don't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I would never be with a partner that wouldn't make me feel secure. So I think like if my partner wasn't responding to text messages or wasn't picking up the phone or wouldn't tell me where they were going, then it would cause like a red flag to raise. And then I would look into all the likes, but I would never be with a partner like that to begin with. If my partner is telling me where they're going, if they're answering my phone calls, like then there's the trust. So what do I care what you're doing on social media?
Yeah, I think you have to look at the whole picture. So it's all
whole picture.
It's all of the evidence. Is this person showing you any signs that they aren't invested and that they're going to leave? And if all of that's untrue, then you kind of have like this saboteur in your head that's just making you get anxiety for no reason.
Exactly.
And all the other stuff is just kind of fluff. And then I feel like that makes your relationship so fragile too, because if it takes one double tap of a picture to erupt the relationship,
leave them. You're in the
right.
wrong relationships are not that much work. That's one of my problems with society is everybody preaches that marriages are like tough and there's so much work and you have to put so much effort in. And it's like, actually you don't. Like there's a lot of easy, healthy relationships that you can just vibe with naturally. And if your relationship takes that much work and your nervous system is that triggered, you're with the wrong person. Like you don't have to be in fight or flight to be in a relationship.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, that's just their regular state. So,
but they stay in it because society says marriage is hard. No, it's not. It's not.
So do you believe a lot in thoughts become things? So your mental outlook on things or perspective is going to kind of create your reality.
Definitely. Yeah. And I've done so much research on this because of my anxiety. Thoughts become things. Anxiety is essentially a worry or a fear that's not even true yet, right? So if I have all these thoughts and worries and fears, I can quite literally make them true because your brain will start to look for coincidences. So there's small coincidences that happen in life that will validate. Your brain is looking for validation. So thoughts become things are very real.
Yeah,
Very
I think
real.
so too.
Yeah.
I have this one friend and we have this other podcast together and he's the opposite. He thinks I'm just like this really woo-woo witch. And I'm like, there is actually a lot of evidence to this work and the way that your mental outlook on life and how that affects
Does he study the brain a lot?
No, definitely not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely not. There's this, have you ever seen Inside Out? It's a kids like Pixar thing, but they just came out with Inside Out 2. And basically what it is, it's this dashboard in your brain. Yes. Have you seen it? Have you seen the new one?
No.
So the character's going through puberty, so they just demolish the brain and in comes all of these new emotions, and one of them is anxiety. And it's so funny the way that anxiety operates the brain. Like she immediately bottles up all of the other emotions and puts them into the subconscious. And she's like, I'm here to worry about things that haven't happened yet. And she has like all of these calculations of possibilities.
But if you're worried about things that haven't happened yet, or if you're excited about something, it goes both ways. So anxiety is worrying about things that haven't happened yet. But the opposite flip side is if you're in a good mood and you're excited about just life and in general and in a good mood, then you'll start to notice good things that happen. And all of a sudden you had a good day, but because that's what you're paying attention to. So your brain is constantly looking for validation. Yeah.
So do you do intentions in the morning, or if you catch yourself in a negative loop, do you have an exercise that you do?
I don't have an exercise that I do. It's really hard because catching your brain throughout the day is a lot of work. But if I notice I'm in a negative loop, I try to focus on very small positive things. The sun, the clouds, nature, grass, my dogs, coffee, my favorite treat. I will take the time to really enjoy that very small thing. And next thing you know, you're focusing on good things. It's really hard though, because if you're in a bad mood, you don't give a shit about the sun, you know? So it's like, it sounds easy, but it's really tough.
And is that similar to how you got over the agoraphobia?
Who said I'm over the agoraphobia?
Well, you're here. You're
The
here.
Alexa Pro. The Alexa Pro helped me over the agoraphobia. I'm big on medication. Sometimes your brain, having a bad experience over and over again, exposure therapy in a negative way can really generate a strong belief that you can't do something, and it's really hard to get out of. So for me, Alexa Pro helped build confidence to do things that I was afraid of very slowly with a good experience. So I don't know why people have a problem with like medication, because some people really need it. And it quite literally saved and changed my life. And I still struggle day to day, but not to the extreme of the agoraphobia once was. I still don't drive. I haven't driven a car since 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't drive.
I wish I didn't have to drive though. It's
You
like,
don't have to.
Yeah. That seems like a perk.
Yeah.
That's one of
it's like nice to be a passenger princess, but also the lack of independence it gives me weighs on me every day. I feel guilty about it. I feel like a burden. So it's something I want to get over, which I'm working on.
Yeah.
I had my blood work done actually. And all these years I thought I was struggling with anxiety. This is recent blood work, by the way. And my blood work came back. My cortisol, perfect. Anxiety, stress response, perfect. GABA, nothing. My body doesn't produce GABA at all, nor does it produce serotonin, which the combination can cause extreme anxiety. So here I am treating anxiety when I should all these years have been treating my GABA and lack of serotonin. So I got GABA prescription, which by the way, my psychiatrist says that all GABA on the market supplement form has no GABA in it at all.
No way.
Your body just, it processes it so fast that it
doesn't get absorbed.
No.
Okay, that was a waste of money.
Don't go buy GABA supplements. You want an actual GABA prescription. And I've been taking it for literally a week, and I have energy, which I've never had before because I don't have any GABA or serotonin in my body. And I feel less panic and less stress. So the plan is to try to start driving with GABA because I've got my blood work done. So I highly recommend, like, again, the research, the data. Like, don't just guess. Talk therapy is guessing, in my opinion.
I'm not a fan of talk therapy.
How do you feel today?
Yeah.
Let's dig deeper into your feelings.
Let's keep ripping open that wound.
Let's rip it open and rip it open.
Yeah.
No, go get your blood work done and go seek psychiatric help. And that has helped me more than anything. Because the goal for everybody is just to feel normal, right?
Yeah, and I think some people don't know what that is because their normal is anxiety-ridden or depressed or whatever the thing might be, super aggressive. So their normal is what they always try to keep recreating because you're looking for patterns of recognition to where your nervous system is like, oh, this is where I'm at home.
Some people's nervous system is regulated when it's at more of a state of aggression or panic because that's all they know. My psychiatrist calls it finding comfort in discomfort. They're comfortable when they're uncomfortable. Perfect example is my agoraphobia. Like, I'm uncomfortable in my house all day with the fear of leaving the house, but I'm more comfortable being in the house. It's being comfort in your discomfort, which is very unhealthy. And I think people don't realize that they struggle with that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the medication, I think a lot of the pushback is the over-prescribing of it. For a lot of people.
Right. But I think that's like painkillers.
It's everything. Yeah.
Anything
everything
that doesn't make you feel normal, like Adderall, like that jazzes people up, you know?
Well, it's an amphetamine and we're giving that to children. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it depends on the medication again, right?
Yeah.
So if the goal is to feel normal, you need to take what will make you feel normal. If Vyvanse, Adderall, opioids, if they don't make you feel normal, then that's not the point. You shouldn't be taking it, you know?
Yeah. I just wish that it was like more, like when you go into the doctor's office, it was like, it's more personalized. Like I think a lot of times, at least in my experience, it's like, here's a prescription and they're not actually inquiring about anything. It's just like the quick fix that, and they're like, we'll just see how this works. I go, I don't know that that's necessarily what I want to do.
Yeah. I've had such a long journey and I learned, unfortunately, even like the best doctors that want to help you as an individual still have to do your own research. I had to push and say, I want this exact blood work done. And I want this saliva test done. And I want this DNA test done. And you have to do it yourself, you know?
So with the GABA, does that automatically start increasing your serotonin or are you doing something else for the serotonin?
Lexapro increases your serotonin.
Okay.
And so I can tell a huge difference in serotonin levels when I'm not on it. I was off Lexapro for 2 years. I took 0 medication for 2 years.
And then what made you go back on it?
The amount of panic that I would feel just simply, physically, my body just vibrates and trembles. And I feel dizzy and I lose my vision, which is why I don't like driving, because if you're driving and your vision you get tunnel vision and everything gets blurry, you just can't see what you're doing. So for me, I went back on medication because the physical symptoms, I couldn't even like go on a walk without feeling like I could just topple over. My equilibrium was off.
Yeah.
And that's anxiety. Anxiety is so powerful. You know, it could cause the craziest physical symptoms.
Are you into any Eastern work or any of the work that's with nervous system?
Yeah, and that's why I preach medication, is because sometimes it's so strong, and my negative experiences were so repeated that even Western medicine, acupuncture, hypnosis. I've worked with 2 different naturopathic doctors and nothing helped because it was just that bad for me. So I think you could go that route if it was a very faint problem that just kind of arose every once in a while. But if it's absolutely ruining your life, something
you need something quicker.
Need it a little stronger. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever considered or worked with psychedelics for any of that? Because with the way that you're talking about like the neural pathways and how they get deeper and just more reinforced the more that you're eating, and this is both positive and negative.
I know. I just unfortunately know somebody that did psychedelics and they've never been the same since. And so I think I don't like dabbling in anything that could potentially have a negative outcome. I try to only do super safe methods. So what I did was neurofeedback.
Okay, that's great.
Which is where they kind of hook your brain up to some wires in a screen and they they can read your brain waves and they retrain it that way. So I did neurofeedback work for about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel any different, unfortunately.
So here's the thing with that. And there's this guy, he invented it. Did you go to BioCybernaut?
No, I went to the guy that invented it.
No, he stole it all.
Who?
Who did you go to?
How many people think they invented it this way?
No, I know that the 100% this guy 100% did. His stuff got stolen by stole it. He got sued for millions and millions and millions of dollars. And this guy that trained him did BioCybernaut, and he's got the place in like Arizona, Vancouver, Germany. But yeah, and took everything from this dude.
The doctor I went to is Dr. Kaiser in California, and he developed his version of it because his son was born autistic and he wanted to see if he could help people with that. And so he developed his version of it, and he can now, if you catch it young enough, can fix children with autism.
Whoa.
And I hate using the word fix.
But it is, because it is a disorder. I think like so many people focus on like, oh, is that going to hurt someone's feelings? So it's like, no, you want to know.
We need to stop trying to be politically correct, you guys. It's causing people to not be able to like speak their truth and speak their mind. And this cancel culture stuff is just too crazy. Like that's a whole nother topic. But it didn't work for me. But it gave me light at the end of the tunnel.
Think you saw it?
No, it made me feel confident enough to try to drive, to try to do things on my own. Even though it didn't ultimately fix, but it did give me a little like boost of confidence, but it was very expensive and it didn't work for me.
Yeah, I would try. So I would have to look at like dates and stuff. So this guy, Dr. Hart, he claims that he did it, and I don't know how old he is because he's like one of those, it's ambiguous, but the way that he describes it is that a lot of it, he calls it treatment resistant chlamydia, but what you're doing for your brain. So if you're doing biofeedback and it's anything less than like and he owns the patents on all of this, so no one can use like these frequencies. If it's not like the exact frequency and done with the right feedback, that it actually kind of makes it harder for your brain, and you're making it harder to create new pathways and change. So it might work for a little bit, but it actually makes things worse. So I don't know. And also like he had that competitor that like took everything and they're doing it with like the wrong frequencies. And he's just like, you're better off not doing it than
That's
doing
what my
it.
doctor said. He was like, there's a lot of people out there doing neurofeedback that don't know what they're doing. And, it's a waste of your money. So I didn't, it was an adventure. It was a fun activity, a very expensive activity.
Very, very expensive. Yeah. Mine, when I did it, I think it changed my life, but it was 7 days and each day was like 16 hours. I was exhausted. You're in this black box and you don't see daylight.
Yeah. So that's an intensive session. I went every single week for 4 hours a week for 2 years. Every week.
That's committed.
So it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like that you're not into the PC stuff because it's like you focus on renaming all of these things to like make it sound nicer, but you're not actually solving any problems. So like one of the things that they've done, and I only noticed because driving here, there's like so many homeless people under the underpasses now. And I feel like every time I come to Austin, it's a little bit more, but now you have to say like the unhoused. And I do think that that's making their situation better.
Yeah.
Like you're putting this energy on something that's like not actually solving any problems.
Right.
So you're not virtuous. You want to look like you're virtuous.
Yeah.
And when was the last time you volunteered or donated? Like, please be quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this was a fun one. Why is no one having sex anymore? So in the US, 20 to 30% of people are sexless. And in Japan, 47%.
It's because these men don't know how to turn us on anymore.
You think that's what it is?
They're crashing and burning our estrogen levels because we're so turned off. And when you have no estrogen in your body, your vagina is dry as shit. And we just don't want to do it anymore. I had a phase where I had zero sex drive. And I'm like, what's going on? It was very bad. And it turns out my body had zero estrogen in it. Zero estrogen. Zero.
How'd you mitigate that? Lifestyle.
Yeah, I was stressed.
Foods.
I was stressed. It was during a move across the country, and I lost my period for a whole year.
Whoa.
And I don't know if you could tell, but like even my content, some of my pictures, I was like rail thin. And it was because I had no estrogen in my body. I was just like sick, to be honest with you. But that was a joke. Men need to work harder at turning us on. That's why people aren't having sex anymore. No, people are on their phones too much. It's causing us not to connect. And when we do finally connect with someone, we're so used to swipe, 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 instant gratification. What's next? That we're doing it with people. It's like you'll meet a guy. Hey, how are you? What do you do? Okay, next. It's like there is no taking the time to like generate a relationship because you actually put effort into like getting to know someone. And that's when you're having the best sex, is when you're really connected to someone, and nobody's connected anymore. So I believe those stats of nobody's having sex is because we're all like lonely scrolling our phones.
In a weird way too, I find that it's the easiest, most satisfying way to get a quick hit of feel-good hormones.
Yes.
So then you're like, well, now I'm depleted and this other thing seems like it's more boring, or it's not going to be as pleasurable as your phone.
It will be,
but
it just takes longer. It just takes longer to hit. I have days where I don't do any doom scrolling. What is it? The amount of time I spend on my screen time. My screen time on my phone, typically a day is about 8 to 9 hours, which is very bad. And I notice that I feel dead inside when I do that. So I'll have days where my max that I'm allowed on my phone, the lowest I've ever gotten it is 3 hours. And I try to do that as much as possible. And I feel so much more connected to just like the world. It's insane.
Yeah, 8 is a lot. My typical is 3 to 4. I know. And everyone always yells at me because I never respond to anything. But I'm like, I'm just not on my phone. I can't do it because my threshold is much lower for what you're describing. Even sometimes when I get to 3 hours, I get that really numb feeling.
Yes.
And my eye, like I feel like this weird pain. And nothing is as enjoyable for me.
But people don't notice it.
I do. And it feels awful.
It took me years to notice like, oh, that's why I feel like shit. So I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of scrolling. They have bad relationships. They don't like their job. They're not connected to themselves. They don't realize these things. And it's because they're on their phone. So if anybody feels numb, step number one, get off your phone. And it's really hard because I notice the days that I don't, it's like, I want to just do this. I'm like reaching.
Have you seen that video? There's this little kid and he's half asleep, kind of having a little tantrum, but like in a weird nap place. And he's in his sleep scrolling.
I've done that.
And I'm like, oh no.
I've woken up to this.
Oh no.
I do this. I know.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's bad.
Yeah.
But I enjoy being off my phone.
Mm-hmm.
The point is to do something you're like, I love being at the park.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm off my phone if I go to the park with my dogs. I'm off my phone if I'm like on the trail walking my dogs. So it's hard to be off your phone if you're just still going to sit on your couch. The point is to like get up
And do something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good advice.
Get up and go have sex. Get off your phone.
Right. And foreplay, everybody. And that starts beyond the bedroom, which I've said before, but it is so true. It's
it is. Unload the dishwasher,
right.
baby.
Vacuum.
Yes.
Slap her butt when you walk by. Yeah. Some women hate that. I like it.
Go run errands.
Yeah.
Do my errands.
Do you have
fold my laundry?
So is your love language acts of service?
My love language is actually quality time.
Okay.
I love like sitting down and like playing a card game. I feel so like
that.
I just get like so excited. I'm like, ooh, or like playing dominoes or just like dumb like little things like that. Or like if I'm on a long car ride, I'll pull up questions on my phone and like I even like pull up conversation starters, even though they're dumb questions that you probably already know about your partner. I just love quality time. And quality time to me is not running errands together. It's not like doing tasks together. It's actually paying attention to each other and connecting. That's my love language.
Do you have a favorite like prompt question or app that you use? Like I know there's Esther Perel has one that's where do we begin?
I just Google.
Oh, you just Google questions?
And you can Google topics too, like best conversation starters to deepen a relationship or, so you can kind of gauge the topic that way.
One question someone submitted, they want to know if you've ever been in a long distance relationship and if you have any advice.
Yeah, I think if you enjoy being cheated on, you should definitely try a long distance relationship. You should. It's so fun. Love a long distance relationship. Yeah, I was in a long distance relationship once and guess where he lived? Las Vegas.
Ooh.
Okay. So there is no telling how many women he railed through while I wasn't in town. But that lasted a year. But the trick was I didn't take it seriously. Like I was young in college. I knew I wasn't going to marry this guy, but we were committed to each other. But I think when you're young and you're dating, the best advice I can give is to like use it as practice. You're not going to marry this person. That's the best way not to get a broken heart. Figure out what you like about that person, knowing you're not going to marry them, so you can take it into the next relationship as you mature and grow. So when you're older, you can get married. So a long distance relationship, especially like when you're in college and you're younger, like it's just supposed to be fun. And if they cheat on you, you're supposed to say, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen."
So accurate. I think that advice is great. That is similar advice I'd give my younger self too, is that you shouldn't take the dating so seriously when you're young because it's devastating. You have all your hormones.
I've never had a broken heart.
Really?
Never.
I've had so many.
I've never let myself. I've been completely obsessed with guys before. Like I've literally loved guys before, but I just knew that like we're too young to like really marry each other. So why put myself into a position of like really thinking it's going to work out? So when I was younger, I always went into relationships knowing they wouldn't work out, which allowed me to just have the most fun ever.
Amazing.
I had the most fun. And I never had a broken heart because there was nothing to end because it was never a relationship. It would just kind of like fizzle or you would move away or grow apart and that was fine. You just had fun. And I'm on good terms with all of my exes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So is that something that your mom taught you as
No.
a young, that's just who you came to the world at?
I don't think you can really teach that. I think I was so scared of being disappointed that I naturally didn't put myself into a position that would get me disappointed. That maybe that's like a trauma trigger response of mine is being disappointed. So I avoided disappointment by just focusing on having fun.
Are you taking that into relationships now as you're like single and dating, or
Yeah.
same thing?
Yeah.
So if it ends, it's like it was fun.
I know.
And on to the next.
I think I grew up seeing a marriage that I knew I didn't want, that I knew I never wanted to get married from a very young age. I would be like 4 or 5 being like, I don't want kids and I don't want to get married because I don't want anything that I'm seeing right now. So I think that also allows me to be really lighthearted about dating and having fun. I believe in like committing to someone and like 100% being in a relationship, but I don't think you need to get your government involved with your relationship by getting married. I just don't want kids. I think it just allows me to like approach things more lightheartedly than like needing the white picket fence with the house and the wedding and the kids. Like I just genuinely don't need or want that. So women that do really want that, I can see relationships being really hard because it has to be so perfect and they just so desperately want it. You know?
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I agree with the marriage part not making a whole lot of sense if you don't want kids, but I think if you have kids, it
can
helps.
get confusing with having parents with different last names like that. Right.
And
of
then
course.
and then obviously like mitigating finances and having someone be accountable.
Of course.
Yeah. So kids I think is an exception to that, but I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
I totally agree. And people fail to realize that marriage actually was always kind of a legal binding agreement, and then religion came in way later. So we often say, oh, it's this religious thing, and it can be absolutely, but like it did originate as just like a legal ceremony, if you will, or just documentation. So it can be whatever you want it to be. But it was funny when you were talking about relationships being super easy and they're supposed to be fun. And I was like, I used to think that too, but marriage can be, and I think it's the kid element.
I think makes it really hard. Which I don't want kids. I've never wanted kids. I'm not having kids. So I've never had to think too deeply about the dynamic a relationship would be with kids. I can imagine parenting styles would probably cause a lot of arguments because that's my flesh and blood that I birthed, but it would also be his flesh and blood, and he has an equal right of how he would want to raise the kid. And I can imagine that just being so tough.
Right. And
that I don't ever want to sign up for.
Yeah. Do you feel you have to justify that ever? Like, do you get shit for not?
I like to preach it because I think women feel they have to have children. And I like for women to know that they don't have to have children. And I like for them to know that they're not alone if they can't have children. I don't want them to feel bad or shame. So I like to be open and lighthearted about it because I think it's okay and it's normal. So
yeah, the way that you do it, it's authentic, right? And I don't think everyone's supposed to have kids, and nor should everyone have kids.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really, like, you have to know that that's the thing you want to do. And then there's some women, like Chelsea Handler, I can't stand. I used to love her. When I was in high school,
I've never liked her, unfortunately. Sorry, Chelsea.
And now I can't stand her. And the way that she approaches the topic.
She grew up with a lot of trauma.
Did she? I don't know her story.
I don't know her story verbatim, but I know that she had a really tough like family growing up. And I think she lost her brother at a young age. Like they were best friends. And so imagine do you have any siblings?
I do. Yeah.
Imagine like being like 10 and like they pass away.
Yeah.
So she has a lot of trauma. I don't think that gives you an excuse to be like a shit person, but so I try to give people grace if I'm not a fan of theirs.
Yeah. I mean, there's always context, but at the end of the day, there's the saying, there's no orphans after 21. So you're responsible for yourself after your adulthood. But yeah, when she talks about being childless by choice, it's like this, it feels like an attack on women that decided to have kids. Like it's a very aggressive demonstration of her lifestyle.
And that's her own problem that she feels she needs to express herself that way. She's probably trying to justify her own choices by being that aggressive about it. And you don't have to shove anything down anyone's throat.
Right. Yeah. It's not a war between haves and have-nots. It's just different lifestyles and different choices. But anytime I see someone that's really aggressive, I'm like, you're not okay with your choices, what I'm seeing.
Or people that are super, super opinionated. It's like, I'm opinionated, but I'm fine with what I think, but I'm also fine with what you think. So if you have a different opinion, that's fine. I'm not going to try to change it. That has nothing to do with me. I just live my life staying in my own lane. Just stay in your own lane. It's so peaceful. It is.
There's this thing in Adlerian psychology, and it's separation of tasks. So it's knowing what is for you and what is for other people. And it's exactly
I
that.
think that's my superpower.
It's not getting involved in other people's tasks.
That's my superpower.
Yeah, we'd all be better for it.
Yeah.
I think so. So 1, what is the weirdest thing you've done to impress a crush?
Oh. I wouldn't say it was weird, but to impress a crush one time, I bought him a motorcycle. And then I actually really ended up falling in love with this guy. So I made him sell it later in the relationship because motorcycles are very dangerous. And I thought, if you die on me, I'll never be able to live with myself. So I impressed him by buying a motorcycle. And then a year later, I forced him to sell it.
It's because I love you. I don't want you to get
I know.
hurt. Oh my gosh.
When you're first dating somebody, you're like, oh, I'm a cool girl. This is fun. I'm like, here's a motorcycle. And it was like, I did like a scavenger hunt for him to find it. It was so epic. And then like a year into it, I was like, you can't die on me now, actually. Get rid of it.
How did he take it?
He sold it.
He sold it?
Yeah.
Good. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. That is, every guy's like, I hope she gets a crush on me. What is a red flag in relationships that you think people often overlook?
I think the little things, like if he's leaving hair in the sink after he shaves, like absolutely not. You're lazy. If you have a bad credit, why aren't people talking about credit scores? If you have a bad credit score, immediately you're not for me. You're irresponsible. Red flags to me are like little things like that.
Yeah, mine is how they keep a car. Like if their car is a mess, like just covered in stuff all the time. I'm like, ooh, the rest of your life is probably also like this.
It's a direct correlation with what the rest of your life looks like.
Yeah.
Do you have any other red flags?
Well, so there's a quote, it's how you do anything is how you do everything. So I think like the hair being laid around.
Right.
What else is jealousy is a number one thing for me.
I
Like
know,
control
but
and
that's
jealousy.
not like out of
but
the
it's not
norm.
overlooked. Yeah.
Some people have this weird toxic thing where they like jealousy in a partner because it makes them feel more wanted. And that's what I mean by relationships don't have to be that hard. Like you can find a partner that won't make you feel jealous, but will still make you feel wanted, you know? So jealousy is a huge red flag, but some people are like attracted to that. And then they play it off as like, I hate when people say, I'm passionate. I'm so passionate. Like, no, you're not. Let's work on that.
Yeah, it's like
But I have my own red flags. Like, I don't take the trash out. And if somebody comes to my house, they're like, you need to take the trash out. But everything else is pristine and spotless. So.
What are mine?
Because you said it's a direct correlation with the rest of your life. Don't look at my trash can.
Don't look at your trash can.
The rest of my life is pristine. Trash can, absolutely not.
So then there's going to be some area of your life where like everything else is in order, but one thing is just not like the others.
You're right.
Right? So it's like that. So the car thing, you're driving that every day. I don't know. Like I don't like that. I don't like just leaving things like throwing your shoes off or throwing your boxers in the middle of the floor and walking over that. I can't stand that.
It's giving mature and grow up.
Right.
Yeah.
If you clean, like if you actually like have cleaner in the house.
Yeah.
Dust is like a no-no.
Yeah.
So all those things. Yeah.
But cleaning stuff is, other people's red flags are like, other people's red flags are not my red flags. Like liking a girl's Instagram post. Like that's their red flag.
Not
but
for
to
me either.
Not a red flag at all.
No, like away.
Yeah.
This was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell everyone where they can follow you? Anything you're working on?
My Instagram is just Jenna Lee and my OF is Jenna Lee. And that's it. Follow me there.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. See you next week.